Hey guys, and we're back for another deck review slash, this one's gonna be a little bit different, guys, than my normal chatty, quick and dirty walkthrough of the deck, because there's a couple things I want to unpack here. Today I'm talking about the Romance Angel Oracle cards by Doreen Virtue. It's a 44 card romance based oracle deck. This deck is out of print. They don't make this anymore. So there's going to be a little bit of story time with this, so you may want to fast forward if you don't want to hear my story, but I'm just going to jump into it. So I have been manifesting this deck for probably about 6 months, and it randomly fell into my lap. Right now on eBay, it's going for several $100s. Same thing on Amazon. This deck is probably one of the most hard to get a hold of decks by Doreen right now because it's out of print, along with a lot of her other decks, but some are more easier to come by than others. I was randomly scrolling through Instagram and I came across this shop called Eclectic by Nature, and it must have been one of the hashtags that I was following, was selling out of print Doreen decks. A lot of her, there were oh my gosh, maybe 20 some odd decks. So anyways, shout out to Eclectic by Nature. It's a metaphysical shop in Greensboro, North Carolina, because that's where I obtained this. This was their demo deck. They don't have any more. This is well loved. The gilding is starting to come off, but I felt that I've personally given up on love. Just kidding. Kind of not. But anyways, I want to use this in client readings because I think this specific deck, and we'll go through, I think this deck brings a lot to the table for romance readings, and there aren't a lot of other decks out there, in my opinion, that have what this is. Just because it's Doreen Virtue doesn't mean that it's a fluffy unicorn, mermaid style deck. This deck actually has some truth bomb cards in terms of relationships, which I think are really important. So, and we'll flip through that so I can show you guys what I'm talking about, but I'm super pleased, so happy I was able to get a copy of this. I got it dirt cheap. I paid for shipping, but I think it was like $35. So, I mean, if you're trying to get an out of print deck, y'all, keep manifesting, keep going. I have a couple other decks. I'm going to make another video about decks that I really want that are currently out of print. There's a couple of decks, but anywho. So let's jump into it. I also want to acknowledge, before we jump in and look at the deck, I just want to talk about Doreen Virtue just a little bit. Now, for those of you who don't know, now you know. She was a OG, old school Hay House author. So back in the, I believe, 90s, I could be a little off with my timing, maybe even a little prior to that. I'm, just for reference, I'm 33. I'm going to be 34 soon. I've been around the metaphysical block for a minute. I was kind of brought up somewhat new age. So I had been introduced to, I was playing with some of her original oracle cards since I was like 14. My mom was obsessed with Doreen Virtue, and I was kind of like, I couldn't really like get into the angel thing. Wasn't really my jam. And then as I started my career in my muggle job in the late 2000s and then early 2010s, so I would say around 2011, 2012, Hay House radio was a big thing. For those of you who are young, or those of you who actually have a life and aren't weird, I would listen to Hay House radio religiously. And since I just want to have this conversation because these are the things that I talk about in my world, and I don't have a ton of people to talk about it with, so my mom gets it and some of my friends, but I just kind of want to acknowledge some OG Doreen Virtue stuff at Hay House. And so anyways, Hay House radio has, after Wayne Dyer passed and Doreen passed, there's really been like this empty hole. And so I think that they're not necessarily struggling, but I think that they're going to, I don't even know if Hay House Radio exists in the way that it did. I think they tried a podcast. I don't know. Anyone, if you know anything about the new direction of Hay House, you know, there's some new people like Kyle Gray that are kind of popping off in the new angel niche, but it's just kind of, Doreen Virtue was a big deal. So we'll just say that. She was a really big deal. She wrote a ton of books. The Lightworker's Way was one of them. She had, oh my gosh, she did tons of angel books. She did crystals, flower therapy. She had the flower therapy deck, the butterfly deck, which is super pretty. I have a couple Doreen decks. I have her angel crystals, one of the magical fairy decks, and then this one. I used to have the angel tarot card deck, and I liked it for a season of my life, and I decided that I really wanted to study RWS artwork and symbolism and meaning and history and all that stuff, and so I gave it to a friend and kind of graduated because it just wasn't working for me. Anyways, so yeah, I think this is just kind of like a show and tell about my history with Doreen Virtue and this deck itself. And I just want to say, you know, so anyways, Doreen Virtue was just, so that was kind of the history. She had produced, 40 plus decks, I think at this point, tons of books, courses. She did, she created like the angel therapy certifications and things like that. So super big deal in the Hay House arena, very, very successful in the metaphysical community, New Age community. A couple years ago, again, don't quote me on the dates, she decided that she kind of denounced anything metaphysical, her previous work, so her huge body of metaphysical work. She kind of turned away from it, said it wasn't for her anymore, and she is, I don't know if she's a born-again Christian or if she's, what is the word I'm looking for? Like a fundamentalist Christian. I'm not sure exactly what path she's going, what road she's decided to go down now, but she's definitely Christian, has kind of walked away from this and kind of says that, you know, everything metaphysical is, you know, the devil's work, or it's bad. I am not going to drag Doreen Virtue. I am not going to trash Doreen Virtue. You know, whatever she wants to do, you know, God bless her, keep her, you know, doing whatever she's doing. But she, you cannot deny what Doreen brought to the table and just the body of work that she pumped out into this genre of, you know, the metaphysical New Age world. So I just want to acknowledge that. Some of her decks kind of get a bad rep because they are a little too fluffy, a little too foo-foo, and this deck isn't necessarily like that, and I'm about to show you why. So again, this deck, well loved. I cleansed it. Thank you, Eclectic by Nature. They have a lot. They still have several out of print Doreen decks. So if you're looking for something specific, go check them out on Instagram. They're in Greensboro, North Carolina, but they will ship to you. So I'm in Phoenix. They ship to me all as well. So let's jump into it. Again, this is a well-used deck. I knew I was not getting something that was new. This deck is super hard to find at the moment. I mean, it was mass-produced, so it's not impossible, but here's the book, the guidebook. You see a lot of, I don't know that I'll do pick-a-cards on this channel, but I want to more so do like live custom readings, but you'll see these in a lot of those kind of readings. It is gold gilded. This deck is a little bit, you know, it's worn. It looks better on camera than it does in person, to be honest, because it's a little, but you know, I knew what I was getting into with a used deck. So let's just like flip through, take a peek at these cards, because I don't know that I've seen a full flip through. I'm sure there are some out there, but just so you get a sense of what I'm talking about. So letting go of control issues. So like, this isn't like joy and love. Like there's some real life things, past life relationship. Love that card. Trust. Staying optimistic. I guess that should be a message for myself at the moment. But yeah, chemistry. Keep an open mind. So way back when, we'll continue with a little story time. So way back when, my mom was super into this, and I was kind of, I don't know if it's a stage of life that you go through where it's like, whatever your parents are into, you're kind of like, well, that can't be cool, and I don't like that. So I was very like, not into the fairy stuff. When I was younger, I really liked, oh my gosh, what was it? What is her name? Silver Ravenwolf, I believe. Teen Witch and Dorado Silver Broomstick. Like, I was super into that. I loved John Edwards. I really loved the healing family issues. Like, that's heavy. Pay attention to red flags. So this is, I mean, you'll probably, I mean, you could get this same message in a tarot reading, but I really think that in terms of romance or relationship readings, love yourself first. There's some really good messages in this deck, which is why I wanted it. But anyways, what I was talking about before was that, oh my gosh, who else was it? James Van Praagh. Like, I was more so interested in like mediumship and, like anything that appealed to that whole teen witch generation. I was all about it. So the fairy stuff, not so much. And then in my late 20s, I kind of was a bit more open to the angel thing, and then I started kind of incorporating that more in my practice. And so I have an appreciation for this now, but when I was younger, I didn't. So worth waiting for. True love. And the artwork in this, I won't say that out loud because I don't want to irritate people, but it almost reminds me of not necessarily this card, but some of the artwork in here is, can I call a Doreen deck sophisticated in terms of this kind of artwork? I think it is a little bit more, and this was something that really turned me off back in the day. So sorry I'm rambling on all over the place, but that's kind of my jam. Like, that's kind of my brand. If you've watched any of my other videos, but tell me, like, I don't want to trash Doreen Virtue. I really have nothing bad to say about her. Like, go on with your bad self. Like, do your thing. Release your ex. Hey, if you're listening to this, release your ex. Yeah, like, sorry, I'm like a squirrel, I get distracted. Tell me about your, like, when did you discover Doreen Virtue? Were you into Doreen Virtue? Were you turned out? There's a lot of people have a lot of different feelings about her. I know some people have kind of, I don't want to spread any negativity, so I definitely don't want to do that here. But let me know if you miss her, or if you were a Hay House listener and you are like, oh my gosh, where did she go? And that was something that you were into. Let me know. I'd be interested in to hear that. Unrequited love. Yeah, I mean, you could probably see the artwork pretty decently here. So my gosh, back, I think it was 2016 maybe. 26. Yeah, the artwork is really pretty. And again, like, when this deck was released, that just was not something that I was into, but now I can really have an appreciation for it. I'm weird, but you probably gathered that by now. Back in 2016, she was still doing, I don't know if she walked away in 2017 or what happened, but she still had her radio show going on, and I called in. I'd actually gone on several Hay House shows just for different authors because I was like super into it. and I kind of have no life, and I'm just weird and into all this stuff. But anyway, I got on to Doreen's show, and I met her, or not bleh. I called into her show, and she answered my call. I didn't meet her, but I talked to her on the phone, and she gave me a reading and told me that I was going to meet someone. I eventually did, but it really wasn't really like what she said. But there were some things that she said that were kind of accurate. But anyway, she sent me the Goddess Guidance Oracle deck. I worked with that for a few years. I ended up giving it to my mom, actually, because I just wasn't really connecting with it. But some of her decks are good. Some of her decks, I use the fairy one quite often when doing readings for others. I think it brings, I don't do just straight up oracle. I kind of do, or I add it to tarot readings and things like that. But one of the things I notice about her decks is she talks about timing. And not every deck does this. So this one says very soon. Some of the other decks will say like in the springtime, in the winter time, blah, blah, blah. But yeah. I don't know. I'm weird. Does anyone has anyone else had their, kind of art preferences change over time? And, sometimes you just got to change it up a little bit, but I guess we're ending on a note where we just need to flirt a little bit. So I'm going to leave it there. And I hope you're having a great day, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.